Good evening, Somers, and welcome to the Somers Town Board work session of Thursday, December 6th. If you would please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and be seated.
Roland, how are you? Good, thanks.
Okay, our first order of business is conduct a public hearing on our 2019 preliminary budget. I make a motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Okay, so as you know, we have, roll call?
No publish and posting.
Publishing and posting.
Those published in the Somers Record on November 22nd and posted on the town clerk's bulletin board the same day.
Thank you, Patty.
I almost said Jane.
Okay, so as you know, this is our preliminary budget. We can make changes to it up until December 20th, I believe it is.
But I think our intention is to
Yeah.
try and
basi-
pass it next week.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's our intention. So, is there anyone from the public here that wants to comment on the budget?
I was gonna say, I only don't recognize one person, so come on up.
Come on, join us.
Here, Mark. Have a seat.
Yeah.
Have a seat.
Name and,
My name
Welcome.
is Mark Bergman. I live in Heritage Hills. I've lived here for about 3 years now. You're also from Heritage? Oh.
No, come
No,
close
talk
to
to
the
the
mic.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. My name is Mark Bergman. I live in Heritage Hills, and I've lived here about 3 years. The taxes are much more affordable than they were in my former home in Bedford, which was about $30,000 a year. Now it's far less. However, last night I was at an event, a dinner meeting, and next to me was a woman who was paying $30,000 in taxes in Somers, and on the other side was another person who was paying $38,000. And this compounding of tax increases, I don't think is a good idea. It lowers the value of our houses. I realize the town has to have money to pay all expenses. I would like to see it lowered to 2% rather than 3%. It's a small decrease, but the county has a 2% increase in line, and other towns in the area, except for Bedford, of course, have also lower taxes. So I noticed in the preliminary summary that you're hiring another DPW or two
Highway
people.
Department.
Highway. And I would imagine that the salary, including benefits, would probably be $80,000 or $90,000, including benefits. And perhaps we can not have that higher and do without it since you have for so many years. Any thoughts?
I think you're going to be happy with the discussion we're going to have in a few moments. But I think, I think we all feel, share the same sentiment. The whole compounding aspects, is something that we're very mindful of. I mean, a few dollars here and a few dollars there, when you add them all together, all of a sudden it's real money. When you combine all your taxes, is not only this, but school and county and the like. I mean, this gets to be a significant thing. So, I think there's going to be a proposal on the board here to kind of think right now to bring this down to 2%.
Oh,
And
So-
you'll hear the
but I
discussion.
do want to make a comment that, the highway department, they, their duties are just becoming more and more every year. I mean, I think when we started on the board, Rich, if I'm not wrong, there were more employees than there are now.
Well, the very first year there were.
Yeah,
yes.
and then a lot of them, and we went for 12 years without hiring really any new hires other than replacing people who left. And now when we're talking about, tree programs, because of the, the storms that have put out the electrical. I mean, the people who are out there cleaning up the mess afterward is the highway department. And we find that, and this is the first time in at least 12 years where we've put on a brand-new body. And I think they've been asking for it for far more
We hired
years.
one mechanic, I think we hired a mechanic, remember he's gonna do, to save money.
Oh,
so
for
they
the
sent it
town,
out.
yeah, for the other stuff.
think
But,
that's one.
but again, I want to say that those guys go, they really go above and beyond, especially with all of the weather phenomenons that we've been having lately. And so I think adding one new body over, again, you're going to be happy because we're going down to 2% anyway. But I just wanted to explain that from the highway department standpoint, I think that position is very warranted this year. And I think it's.
Oh, I just picked at that because I know.
Because you knew there was an extra body, yeah,
Yeah.
I got you.
Right.
And,
So let me just, the tentative budget was put together and the preliminary budget, basically this reflects myself and the finance director to get to a carryover of 0 under the tax cap. I said to Bob, let's go with leaving no money on the table, and that happened to get us to a 2.93% increase in taxes, about $25 a household. Once it was presented, we reviewed things. We did approve that position in the highway department because I personally think it's warranted, needed. And they do such a great job down there. We want them to continue in that vein. But tonight we are going to consider coming back down off that 2.93 number increase.
And just to go on what the supervisor is saying, and this is one of the things where when you think about it, you kind of scratch your head. At the 3% number, we were still under the 2% tax cap.
that's not the point. The point was keeping the taxes lower, because each time you raise the taxes, when people are looking for houses and houses are being priced, I'm a real estate attorney, so I'm aware of this.
Yeah.
We are in competition for increasing the value of our houses and attracting people to live here. So the DPW department, they're very valuable. However, perhaps part-timers or contract people, or when there's an emergency, would be another thought of in order to solve this problem.
We already do that
So
with
That's what Greenberg, I used to live in Edgemont.
Yeah.
That's what Greenberg does. They have contract people on retainer, if you will.
We contract out during storms and
Yeah.
emergencies, yeah, we do contract out.
Tree
So
work.
the
So they're
question
not
is whether or
full.
not full-time person is necessary, if that's the answer, to lower the taxes to what you said, which was 2%. Is that right?
going down to
Well,
2%, yeah.
Yeah.
That's their proposal.
Okay, well, it's just a thought.
There's
you know,
just a couple of
and-
things I think, though,
why
you
we
you
have
and
a
I
public
have
hearing.
had some discussions, but there are a couple of things to keep in mind. One, about the county budget, that does involve the sale of the parking lot and other things that are sort of one-time. If they didn't do those one-time sales, their rate would go 5 to 6%, according to the county exec. I know they're looking for ways down there to close the gap that they do have. So
I think that parking lot
It's a
sale
different thing.
will go through.
it's not gonna.
We'll see. Reasonable people may differ.
I think that it's not. But the other thing is, this is the first year we have not borrowed money for tax paving,
God
for
bless
highway
you.
paving.
Second year, I
We didn't do
think.
that last year.
Second year.
Second, so going forward, as the supervisor said, you can only increase, there's an argument, I'm just saying on the other side, nobody's disagreeing with what you're saying here, but there isn't, just so everyone understands the ramifications of the tax cap. When the levy can't increase, more than a certain percent, you can increase it the next year more than so much above it. So when you can tax less, we'd have to borrow more. And in a time of inflation, there's an argument of making sure that your taxes cover what you need to do rather than borrowing. So that's the fine line you're trying to balance there, is how much can you cover by taxes, how much you have to borrow. Now, the county's bond rating went down because they'd been borrowing more money than they had coming in the tax levy. So any government is always trying to find that right balance of a reasonable amount of money versus that you have now and in the future in your fund balance, your savings, et cetera, and that you don't have to borrow. And that's what we've been wrestling with, is that. So I understand your point. Also, obviously, we're the smallest part, 6% or whatever of the taxes. But regardless, every government entity has responsibility to be as efficient as possible, making use of every dollar and never taxing more than you need to. And that's where
I have
input
a
of
number
people
of
like you
clients
is
in
good.
Somers, and
Yeah.
they're upset the rates keep going up, and they don't want to leave. They don't want to.
Yeah, sure, nobody does, right?
You mean the 2%?
Yeah, even at 2%. they would
Well, a
like to see it
2%
0.
increase would roughly about $16 a household.
I know, but
I think people see a percentage, though. I see what
it's
you're saying.
compounded from past years.
Sure.
Just as what happened in Bedford and Greenberg, right?
So how does that compare to Bedford and Greenberg and Yorktown as a real estate attorney? How are we doing in Somers?
Very well. It's an attractive town. The problem is, if you have taxes over $10,000
Yeah,
between
yeah.
sales tax and real estate tax, it's not deductible. That's their cap.
Right.
Yeah.
So the
No,
rules
that's-
have
Things
changed.
have
So,
definitely changed.
yeah,
You're
That's
right about that.
ridiculous.
I know, but
Law,
we
but
can't
it's the
change
law,
that here, but
right. No, yeah.
perhaps we can make a start in keeping them low,
So,
making an attractive town,
Right.
it's,
or keeping it.
Keeping it, thank you.
Thank you. Keeping it a wonderful place to live.
Thank you, thank you very much.
Thanks for your
Thank you,
time.
Mark.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
your input. All right, gentlemen, so is there anyone else here for public comment on the budget? Okay, hearing none. We'll discuss the changes to the budget in public hearing or close it and
Are you closing the public hearing this evening or are you adjourning? Hold on.
What can we do?
We
What are
can
our
adjourn it, we
options?
can adjourn it to next week and vote on it at the same time, right? After we close it next week?
Close it.
Well, I say keep
I say close it.
I'm fine with keeping it open.
it open.
I mean, if somebody wants to talk, come
The thing
forward.
is,
Sure.
even if we close it and somebody comes to talk, we're gonna let them talk anyway. But let's keep it open,
Okay,
make
so
it easier.
We'll keep.
We
the,
let everybody talk.
Yeah, we do.
But why not? It's a little
We'll
town.
keep it open.
Can I get a motion?
Well,
Second, I'll
Second.
make a motion that we keep the public hearing open until next week.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So,
So it's in the record that it's open.
Yeah.
We always listen to people, but that's
do.
not in the record.
I wasn't listening.
okay, so, since we're talking about the tax levy,
I'm sorry.
I explained before, to get us to leaving no money on the table while remaining under the tax cap, that was at 2.93%. That's what I put it in, knowing we would have a hearing and a discussion on it.
Okay.
So I'm gonna suggest that,
And you know, someone's saying, how do you stay under a 2% tax?
That's
cap?
what
At two, so there's a tax levy and the tax rate, and those are two different
Yeah.
But
things.
there's carryover.
And then there's carry, right.
So,
Someday
you know,
we'll have a tutorial on it.
Yes, right, led by Roland.
I mean, simply, it's, there's the 2% cap, but there's inclusions and exclusions that are allowed
There's a COLA.
that let you
Right.
go above the 2 and still comply with the law.
But sometimes it's below 2.
And sometimes, and I think we've been below 2.
Oh, it has been several times.
We
yeah.
have,
We've
no, I don't
stayed.
have, I don't have
I don't
the
think it's
last
ever been
5
above
years.
1.5,
But the last
So,
5 years,
so
we've been,
Mark,
we've
we've
been
been
well
below, we've been
below 2 for
at some
5
points
years.
too, yeah.
The numbers.
But it's, it's a balance between, revenues, assessments, and the money we spend in the budget. And, and it's a balance of all of that, so,
Sure. As assessments go down, tax rates go up
right.
to keep the same amount of money, no extra money.
okay, so we will have, if there's a consensus here, we'll have the budget reflect a 2% tax levy.
Okay,
And that'll be, the budget will reflect that, and we'll vote on that at our next meeting. Some other additions I want to bring up on the budget. As you know, we're rather antiquated with our sound, our video and system here.
What? Piggyback on yours, Rick, or Rich.
We are so fiscally
Whatever.
conservative, our
Whoever you
equipment
are.
is like 30-plus
Yes,
years old and is
Shows
failing
it.
at times.
As a matter of fact, last time we were together, it failed.
Yes,
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 it
it
did.
did.
Right.
All right.
We had to yell to the crowd, but people at home could hear us through the microphones.
This is about 30 years old.
So we have a proposal
Probably.
from our videographer to provide us with wireless microphones. And I would propose that we add $2,788.44 to our video line in our budget.
I would agree with that.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Consensus on that?
And that's the option too, right?
Yeah, that's the full wireless, not just the podium.
That makes sense.
And they're gonna do some of the speakers here as well, I think, right? With that?
If that was in that
He's
proposal.
got a plan.
Okay.
He does.
Got a plan.
Paul does a good job.
And you know, people say that all the time, right? They say, "Well, I was watching the meeting. I really couldn't understand what all the people
Couldn't hear
were saying."
And they're sitting in the back.
So, you know, we should, people have a right to expect that they can hear their town board and every board that meets here clearly, and they know what's going on, and I think it advances the cause of democracy. So I certainly
Let's
support
not
it.
overdo it
I'm
now.
for that.
You know, that's what we're about.
All right, one other adjustment I want to make is to the salary for the confidential secretary. I'm going to change that to $67,155.
That's the 10%, right?
That's right, correct. So there's agreement on that. I'll have the,
Agreed.
Agreed.
have the budget reflect that. I believe that covers changes to the budget. Otherwise, everything would remain the same. We're going to offset the
On the dock of the bank.
tax levy by using a little more fund balance, which, you know, fortunately, we had our auditor here telling us we have a very healthy one,
Double A.
and that's why those funds are there. So if we can reduce the tax levy down to 2%, I think that bodes well for us.
So I just also want to add, and we had this conversation when the auditor was here, and we were looking at the use of fund balance. I mean, it's been our history that when we use fund balance, the following year, we usually come in and find, you know, efficiencies in the budget and come back and put it back in. So, you know, I think there's a good practice here, and from a trend point of view and from an actual event point of view, I think, you know, this makes sense. And this, you know, I don't fret about this at all.
Okay, any other issues with our 2019 budget changes? We're still open. Gotta come up here though, Mark. Thanks.
I'm glad you have a good sound system there.
Not now.
We're gonna have
we
a-
will.
we're gonna have a
Not
better
right
one.
now.
Future
Actually,
meetings, we'll be able
The
to.
next meeting, you won't have to get up. The mic can come to you.
I'm wondering what percentage of the budget is collateralized, if you will, by reserves? In other words, what percentage?
Oh, what did they tell you? It's high.
It's like
It's
10
about-
million between, you know, there's-
Percentage-wise,
I mean,
approximately?
Well,
the
in
fund
the-
balance
in the
as a percentage
mid-20s.
of the budget itself.
Yes.
It's about
Mid-20s.
About 25%.
Oh, that's very
Which is,
good.
yeah, which is high.
which
Well,
contributes.
it's about what the auditors say a town should have.
So you're dipping into reserves to keep the budget at 2% increase, perhaps? Not that it's bad or anything, but I just want
It
to
is.
understand.
And the point I was trying to make before is, you know, that's money you would have, you know, to put toward highway or something else, that perhaps you'd have to borrow depending upon what happens in the future. That's the only issue I was trying to make before.
Okay.
All right,
And-
I would also say that our auditors said that our fund balance was actually on the high end.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, they said that it was.
They want us to
that
use it,
range.
they want us to use it in reality. The other side of this is also, this contributes to our bond rating, right? We have a fantastic bond rating. It's improved over the last few years. And these are the types of things that, you know, these are the stress tests, part of the stress tests that the state uses
Right.
to look at the look at, you know, the financial condition of this.
Of the individual town.
towns. And we score very, very well, so.
We're lucky.
proud to be here, yeah.
yeah,
Thank
we're-
With your help,
we're-
we'll stay there.
Yeah.
That's right.
Thank you.
Luck skills.
Okay, so we'll keep the public hearing open.
Speak for yourself.
Any other comments on the budget?
Don't speak for luck.
No,
Okay.
we'll look at it next week.
So we'll move along to public comment. I'll make a motion to open public comment.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Anyone here for public comment?
Again, the
Seeing,
only one would be
Anything
Mark.
else you got, Mark?
seeing or hearing none, I'll make a motion to close public hearing.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Okay, I am going to skip to item number 5.
Oh, the last time.
Yeah,
Number C is.
Number C.
Execute.
Is that what he said?
Number C?
number C or?
I'm gonna go to
Letter
I'm gonna go
Letter-
to letter C.
letter-
Number 5.
letter
letter-
3,
I might go
letter
to,
C.
we can go to letter 5.
Tough group here. So the Energy Improvement Corporation, EIC Municipal Agreement Addendum, pay when you receive PACE product. So we have, if you want to come to the table, introduce yourself.
Hi.
Sure. And my name is Sarah Smiley. I'm Director of Member Services for Energize New York, which is formerly known as Energy Improvement Corporation. I have a PowerPoint presentation, but I'm at a bit of a loss because I'd have to stand over there to move the slides along. Is that okay?
Yeah, we got a mic over there.
Is that mic hooked up
Excellent.
near the podium? Okay.
And I'll also,
Do you need the lights off here, Sarah, or?
it's up
It's
to
okay?
you if you can see it.
I can
then
see
it's
it.
fine with me.
Looks good
You can
to
see it
me.
on the TV, all right, right?
And if you prefer to have handouts as well, this is the same as the slide presentation.
Thank you.
which is-
Thank you.
Energize this?
Oh, wait. Thank you. She does, see, you don't feel that.
I was feeling left out, I have to admit.
Yeah, that's on, it's just not wireless yet.
Right.
It's not up.
No.
You know what, why don't we just grab another one from the
Sure.
table?
Grab this one.
Okay, good.
I don't want to hear from Bill anyway.
Oh, he says, yes, you do.
Oh, you took your own?
I took my own.
You
I
did.
didn't want to hear from me.
See, subconsciously you knew.
I did subconsciously, I didn't know. I would just call him Bill's when he wasn't looking.
I don't think that's it. This is anyone. Maybe so.
All right.
If you want, you could pull a chair right up next, oh, you have to hit the button?
And I can move my computer if I'm sitting.
Why don't I just sit up there and I'll hit the button, just tell me when. Oh.
Yeah,
Supervisor.
yeah, he hit the button, nice.
Just became a much shorter
Where are my
presentation.
wireless mics?
I think this is fine.
And
I think.
All right.
But thank you. So again, my name is Sarah Smiley. I'm Director of Member Services for the Energy Improvement Corporation, more commonly known as Energize New York. And I thought I'd give you a little overview about our program and then dive into the specific product that we're now offering called Pay When Received PACE. So Energize New York is a nonprofit local development corporation, and we facilitate energy improvements to buildings on behalf of our member municipalities with the goal of reducing energy waste and increasing the adoption of clean energy across the state. So for an owner of a commercial building or a nonprofit, if they want to make their building more efficient or if they want to install renewable energy, they would come to Energize New York for capital in the form of PACE financing. And we'd also provide support and guidance through the finance application process. And some of our communities also sponsor homeowner support programs that we operate, but tonight I'm going to focus on our commercial programs. PACE financing, that stands for Property Assessed Clean Energy, and it's financing, as it suggests, specifically for clean energy improvements. And it is authorized by New York State Law, Article 5L, which established that financing for clean energy is a public benefit, and it can be repaid through the tax bill of the benefited property. So you may be aware, but buildings in New York waste about $10 billion a year in energy that's not used. So PACE financing is a tool that our member municipalities use to cut down on that waste and also to achieve clean energy goals of the community. This map shows our current membership. We represent 47 municipalities across the state. Outside of Westchester, that is cities and counties. And the next map shows Westchester and towns within Westchester, because our finance program is based on tax lien authority. That's where the difference lies. Some of the unique benefits of PACE finance is that it can cover up to 100% of the project's costs with competitive fixed interest rates and terms that go as long as 20 years. We're financing improvements that are permanent, so the financing is attached to the property. So if the building owner sells to a new owner, the financing transfers to the new owner as well. And because our terms go longer than a traditional bank loan, it makes it more affordable for businesses to make more extensive energy improvements with greater energy savings that are generally greater than what the annual finance payment would be. So they increase their net operating income. And using PACE specifically for these energy upgrades means that businesses can reserve their business capital for other uses as well as their existing lines of credit. And they can use PACE to tackle deferred maintenance issues that drive up energy costs. And they can also use it to make their buildings more comfortable for tenants or residents and provide an environmental benefit to the community by lowering their carbon footprint. We can finance improvements in any type of building as long as it's owned by a commercial entity or a nonprofit. So that does include residential, but it cannot be owned by an individual. These are the types of improvements that we can finance for energy efficiency. We can finance those improvements in existing buildings. And NYSERDA is the state agency that oversees what projects qualify for PACE financing. And they've updated their PACE guidelines, which clarify that gut renovations and additions qualify as existing buildings. So that makes PACE a powerful tool that can be used for a redevelopment project that can help prioritize clean energy as an aspect of that project. And we can also finance renewable energy systems in either existing or in new construction as well. And renewable, most people know about solar as a renewable energy system, but there are a number of other measures that qualify as well, including air source heat pumps and ground source heat pumps. I included just a few case studies to show the types of projects we've financed so far in our program. This is a retail operation, Terra Tile and Marble in Ossining. And they wanted to do solar and used PACE to finance the installation, and were able to offset over 95% of their electricity use. This is a church in the town of Cortland that had very high energy costs because their building was in use many hours every day of the week with different community purposes. And they also had a lot of maintenance issues. So they wanted to be more environmentally friendly as well as cut down on costs. But they had a roof that was over 50 years old. But they were able to use PACE to pay for the new roof as well as the solar installation and offset 100% of their electricity use with that. This is a different type of improvement. This is a community house in the city of Rye. They also were facing high maintenance costs that were cutting into their nonprofit budget, and they also wanted the building to be more comfortable. So they used PACE to do an extensive set of energy efficiency improvements. And this last case study just highlights a single measure improvement. This is a senior living community in Albany County, and they did an LED lighting upgrade, which using PACE financing, and that netted energy savings, but it also made it a much more pleasant living environment for their residents. So in order to qualify your project for PACE financing, there has to be some sort of energy audit or feasibility study. NYSERDA, again, has established these different pathways to qualify a project, and they've actually made it more streamlined with their new commercial PACE guidelines. So a project can go through an incentive program at NYSERDA or the utility to get to qualify for PACE financing, but they have these new pathways now, which include the option to do a comprehensive building energy audit, using a cost-benefit ratio, which can incorporate environmental benefits as well as energy savings. You can select from a list of pre-qualified measures as well that are already deemed cost-effective. This is the finance criteria for the existing PACE product that the town currently offers. So we are looking at the tax payment history of the property, making sure that it can carry this extra charge on the tax bill. But we have made changes at the state level, and also your local law was recently amended to help make the program more accessible. So we now offer financing available up to 35% of the property value. Previously, it was capped at 10%, so we couldn't do many projects with that. So we hope to see more project flow as a result of these changes. And we also require lender consent if there's a mortgage on the property. The new product that we're introducing now is called Pay When Received PACE, and we're launching it to attract capital from national PACE developers. So they are third-party capital providers that are interested in coming to New York to finance energy projects using our PACE structure in New York. In addition to bringing capital, they're also bringing advanced project development infrastructure, as well as relationships with national property owners. So we expect this product to facilitate larger projects, most likely redevelopment projects, adaptive reuse projects as well. So in this, under the existing product, an applicant would come directly to Energize New York to apply for financing. Under Pay When Received PACE, they're going to the third-party capital provider directly to apply, and it's going to be available on a case-by-case basis. So this is a difference because under the current PACE product, we have a pool of capital ready to deploy for any business or nonprofit that qualifies. This, as I said, will be a case-by-case basis. But under projects financed with Pay When Received PACE, the municipality is relieved of its obligation to remit payment during tax delinquency. So the town would only remit payment once you receive it from the property owner. And in order to activate Pay When Received PACE, the town would need to authorize an addendum to the EIC municipal agreement, which I believe is on your agenda this evening to discuss.
Which is why we're here, right?
Yes. This is the finance criteria for this Pay When Received PACE product. They're still looking at the tax payment history of the property, whether or not there's any bankruptcy, but they're going to be looking closely at the property owner and the project itself, and to qualify it. And they will determine, the capital provider will determine what amount of financing they want to make available, as well as the term of the loan. So I'll pause there, and we just hope that the town does move forward with enabling Pay When Received PACE. We think it's a great tool to add to the PACE program in order to make a wider array of clean energy projects available. And from what I understand, there are some corporate campuses in town that might be looking at redevelopment, and this could be an important tool to help prioritize clean energy as part of those projects. Thank you very much for having me to come present tonight as well.
So Sarah, this applies only to commercial property.
Correct.
So it's available to, how are they going to know about the availability of this? Or is that your job, to make sure they know?
Yes, it is my job, and hopefully the town will help support that by helping put out the word about it. We will certainly be making information available on our website, and we do as much outreach as possible. But as we have municipalities across the state, so we're hoping to partner with our members to help put the word out there as well.
Sure, and so we're just today updating our agreement, so to speak, to allow this to happen.
Yes, correct. So the amendments that were made recently to the local law and to the existing agreement allowed us to offer these additional products. So this is an additional product they'd be authorizing through an addendum.
Says I have done, I mean, it's like Energize for homeowners that we've had here, and Solarize. It's the same thing. Now to businesses, which I had, worked great. I put down 10%, the work was done. I saved money on the energy.
Great.
And when you look at, I mean, just today in the paper about the degree to which climate change is occurring, what they call it, a runaway train or something like that. I think in one of those studies, because the increased carbon in the atmosphere was the Stanford study that they were citing. I mean, anything we can do on that, I would think, is just common sense we should do. So, yeah, good.
Yeah.
So are we invoicing any payments right now? I don't,
No, there are no current projects.
there's no current projects. And just, just backstep a moment. If in fact the company, the corporation who has the obligation fails to meet their debt service, what happens here?
So it's a charge on the tax bill, just like other charges. So the town would fulfill its obligation to enforce the lien on the property through to foreclosure if necessary.
Okay, but we wouldn't have to make good on the payment in any way.
For the current PACE product, the standard Energize New York PACE, you are obligated to remit the payment whether or not you receive it from the property owner, because the town is the only entity with the authority to foreclose on the property and to recoup the losses. And that's how we're able to provide a low-cost capital ubiquitously throughout the community. Under the second product, you are relieved of that responsibility because the third-party capital providers
Yeah,
are taking on the risk.
But it's paid through the
I'm not crazy about the
energy
taking on the
bill? Is
obligation.
the same as on my property where I pay through my energy?
No, it's
No.
similar to if you're paying for sidewalk improvement or water service
Right.
on the tax bill itself.
Right.
But we're already signed up for the first part.
Yeah, I know, I just,
What we're now looking to do now is sign up for the part where we wouldn't be on the hook,
Correct, yes.
which I'm all for.
Well, and I think, just mentioned, we have a proposal for the,
I could sit down if that's.
okay,
Well,
here,
you do this. Well, if you're going to answer, you need it.
yeah, you
Right.
You should sit at the table, sir.
Yeah, come, sit down.
You don't want her at the table?
Yeah, no, I do. Did you bring any snacks? You got anything?
So what I was saying was, we have a proposal for the adaptive reuse of our our IBM campus on the hill here, which is going to entail renovations to the interior, not so much to the exterior, but I know they're moving in energy efficient manner. They want to implement all of the above. So I will put you in touch with some of the principals there to talk to them about, if they proceed and get their approvals, then they may want to work with the program.
That'd be great.
so just a side question, I mean, can we opt for the second structure
Only.
only?
I do know that.
So yes, it is up to the municipality to participate in one or both of the products. Where, we certainly encourage our members to offer both because it is a public benefit. So the first product makes it more widely available. We're still underwriting the property, any property that comes to us for financing. And, we have a whole list of our criteria, and we are requiring, as I said, lender consent. So, the bank has to say that they're okay with the extra charge. However, to answer your question, it is completely up to the town
So
to participate.
So my thought is size and scale. I mean, if it's a small thing, we can absorb it, but if it was something like a huge, corporation,
But if it's a huge corporation, would they be more likely to go with the second one because they're gonna have an outside capital versus?
Yes.
Do you guys have a max that you would currently do?
We don't have a max. I would say it is much more likely that the development project the
That's what I was
supervisor
gonna
is
say, we'll go
speaking
with the
about
second one.
would go with the second one because it's a much more complex project, and these developers that want to come use our PACE structure with their capital, they're used to incorporating PACE in a complicated capital stack. So they're used to developing these, bigger projects.
Okay.
It is very unlikely that we would be handling that particular project.
so do we have can we make, we're participating in both, but let's say they look at this and they say, what I'd like to do
We can't steer them.
first, can we steer them?
The town can implement modifications to how the program is implemented. So if you wanted to put a cap on the amount of financing you made available, as part of the standard product, you certainly can do that,
I mean,
or other criteria.
that's almost absolutely reasonable. Any bank or lending institution would have some sort of a framework.
Yeah.
We should look at that,
No, I know where you're coming from. We don't wanna default.
especially for something large,
Yeah.
right? I mean, you can secure it with the property, but that that process is long and extended.
Well, it's extended to, and especially if there's another lender on it,
Right.
the lender is gonna be going after it as well.
I mean, my understanding is when they developed this criteria and they were talking to lenders about it, to develop the criteria, they feel it's unlikely that the lender would let the town take the property, that
Right.
they would want to pay the charge first. I would also want to point out that we do have a reserve fund for municipalities that should they experience a permanent loss. So if you did have a financing and the property owner did not pay and you couldn't recoup the loss through reselling the property, we have reserves to repay you that loss that is attributable to the energy improvement
Are there other
charge.
towns that are involved in this already? Are there areas of the state?
Yes.
projects.
Oh, with projects, yes.
And any defaults and how they've been handled.
No defaults.
Okay.
We have had a couple of cases of late payments, but those were taken care of.
Yeah, this new school, as I'm sure you know, if it does go through up there, they consider it to be, they say, world-class, science, technology, math, engineering. So certainly, that would seem to be an ideal area to promote, exhibit, have kids work on newer technologies where it would seem, to me at least, the future lies in efficient use of energy in the next 30, 50 years.
I
So it
completely
seemed like
agree. I
that's
think
a perfect combination. I don't know what they have in mind or anything. They said they were looking at all things, so I assume that they
Right.
are doing that. And this would seem to be a way for them to combine. If maybe they just have enough money anyway, so they'll just do it. I don't know.
I mean, it's right. If it works out financially for them to be able to
Right.
use this, then I think they would,
Sure.
want to know that it's available. So I think that's another role that the town could play, since you have the relationships with the developers, just to, as you said, make sure that they're aware, if you do enable the second product, that it is available, or that the first product is available.
Right.
I mean,
All right, so- I was just gonna say tonight, I mean, I understand where you're coming from. I think if we do, right now, what we're looking at is just voting on adding an addendum for the second part. If we want to relook at the first part, we could discuss that as we move forward. But I know right now it's looking at the second part,
And I would say,
which would make more sense to me, because it's the outside capital.
and I will say that if you do choose to put a modification or any restrictions on the first product, you can do that at any time.
Right, that's
You
it.
just said that, that just requires you sending a letter to our board asking to make those changes, and the board would most likely
Okay.
approve them.
so,
We
you
need
know,
5 projects, that's.
so,
Right.
I agree with you. We're doing this and looks, the risk management side of this looks fine with the second product. But I'd like to, just kind of put it on there, that we have a follow-up, maybe have our attorneys and, Bob take a look at it and come back to her with a recommendation. I'm not suggesting you completely pull out of it.
No.
But-
I'd be
but I
interested in
just-
hearing about the reserve and all that. People nowadays, you never know, like you were saying before, rates, inflation going up and all that. You never know what's gonna happen.
So-
We'd like to look at it. But I think the second option is one that if we can steer people towards it.
Yeah, I mean, my personal thing is anything we can do within reason to promote cleaner energy, less energy use and a cleaner environment. Anything we can do that'll help people to do that, I'm in favor of.
Here, here.
Okay, and I'm in favor of it as well.
And you have a hybrid.
And I like my hybrid.
See, you're way ahead.
Very good. 57 miles to the gallon.
So Rick, I guess
He was
you'll
driving
just
like
follow up
12
with,
before, so now he's old.
Yeah.
these
I'm
guys.
averaging out to 15.
Yeah, well, this will go on our consensus
Consensus
agenda
for next
This will be
for
done,
next,
but
for next week.
the other piece.
But-
Yeah, but we need to sit down and talk about the other part. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, that,
But we've been in it for how long now?
But nobody's used it.
Nobody's used it
For
yet. I
several
know.
years, right?
And if what you're saying is nobody's gonna know about it tonight.
We're not there.
well, Sarah, I
Audio
want
is
to
not
thank
great.
you
Really,
for
the audio is
coming
not
out on
going
this
through.
cold evening.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity.
And we will,
Thank you.
we will help to get it out there, obviously,
Excellent.
to different parties if they can use it, because it is good.
Great.
Especially second part.
And please be in touch if I can help in any way, help promote it. I would love to
Do you have
work
any
on it
cards?
with you on that. I do. I will get my.
Excellent.
Consensus?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, why don't we
Thank
take
you,
a
Sarah.
short break while Sarah breaks down her equipment?
Thank you.
That's why I asked.
Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, 5-minute break?
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, we're back in session. Okay, let's go back to
Number one.
Renewal of the commercial instruments and alarm system, CIA, the 2019 service agreement. So this is just renewal of our alarm system. You know, they've been down here routinely, basically checking on equipment, and I think the most recent thing they put in was upgraded our carbon monoxide detectors.
Good.
Okay,
So we'll move that to the consensus.
Yeah.
yes.
All right, the renewal of the O'Connell Associates grant consultants. So I sent out to you guys today.
Did we get a cost benefit on that?
Yeah, you
Well, we
wanted,
got what we, yeah.
yeah, you wanted kind of where we were,
Hmm.
with grants,
Is Bob here?
Just went
and whether
outside.
we want to,
Status of grants.
1 or 2 year contract. A 1 year contract would be 38,000, I believe, and a 2 year contract, they would keep it the same at 36.
Are they pulling in more than 36?
Yes.
There you go.
I mean, if I look at this correctly,
In the 40s somewhere a year. She did like, Bob took a look at it, right? It's something like 206 something since the contract.
well, since the contract started, we got one real big one.
No, I'm talking about what we've paid them.
Oh, yeah.
So the question was, are we paying over 36 or 38? The answer is yes. But We're using
We're
them.
paying it, but we're getting more
More
back, is
back.
what you're asking.
Yes.
We're using them for 2 services. You know, we're paying for the service of doing the auditing, right?
Here's what we got.
And some of the administrative work as it relates to the contract, the grants.
Well,
That was for one project.
yeah, one project.
It's
The
not
stormwater retrofit, the $847,500 stormwater has an administrative component in it
Okay.
that we did give to our consultant to administer.
And we'll have further administrative components as we go forward here, and we
Well,
will
we have our town
probably.
engineer also, you know, marshaling the project through.
But just to Councilman Faulkner's question, I mean, just in general, including the 847, we've received 1,132,672 in grants, which is, just to break some of them down, 150,000 towards the new salt shed, 50,000 towards the 2 clean fleet vehicles that we have, 18,000 on document conversions, and then there's some others, 3,500 here, 5,000 here, 15,000 for invasive species rapid response program. So, we did get one real big one, but it still is holding pace with, if we're talking about $36,000 a year, they're covering their nut.
There's no question that, that they're getting the work done, and you would expect them to cover the $36,000. You're hiring a person to work full time. I was just contemplating if they're essentially saying that, they can do this for 36, but for a year extension, they want 30. I'm saying that backwards.
The other
Yeah.
way around.
They want,
Yeah.
it's 38, which is saying they can afford to do it. They have a good relationship with us, I'd ask them, why increase the obligation? We're going to use you when we need you in these other areas.
I'm okay
That's-
with it.
Yeah, I'm of
It's
the
a fair
mind to go
question.
for the 2 year at
Totally, it's
36.
a fair question.
So,
I mean, over 2 years, you save $4,000.
Yeah, I mean, you're saying why would you want to lock in when you think you can come back next year and get to 34 anyway, but
Right.
maybe even more?
And look, ask them. I mean,
well,
look, it's a
just some
relationship.
history. The year before this, they came in and said they wanted an increase. And I said, we just awarded you an administrative contract in addition to your
Yes.
36,000. So they did back off that. And I totally anticipated this increase, but I did not anticipate that they would offer 2 year for 36,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if
And,
we're paying 36, I'm fine with getting a 2 year. Again, seeing the results here, I'd like to see, and actually, these were throughout the year. It wasn't just one-time thing. I mean, we're talking about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're talking about 7 grants here.
But look, I appreciate, you went back the last time and you kind of pushed back on them. I mean, that was a reasonable thing to do. I would just try to push back on them. It's their job to, try to, extend the contract and get a little bit more certainty in terms of the term. And it's to our benefit to get the same amount
Well, we're
at a
gonna,
lower rate.
then I guess we won't go to the consensus right now, it'll just stay going to regular, I mean, it's,
Well, I'm not clear as to, you want me to go back and say,
The
you
board,
want to pay 36 for?
well, I'm fine
What's
with,
our
I'm fine with
deadline?
how it is now.
which is what, that you would want, you
Just
would
do
go
it-
to
Do
2
2
years for 38.
36, then save.
Say 4,000, 4,000, no.
All right, so if there's a consensus, I'll move to consensus. If there's, if there's not,
There's a
when
four-way
we vote on
consensus.
it, we can,
80%.
See, here's the thing about that company, we're sort of a new company or when we just found or started, then I'd say you should go year to year. This
They've been
is,
here a while.
this is, remember how we found them?
Nothing wrong with
you know,
being cautious, but
They've been around since 1990-some. It's the number
Yeah,
one in New York.
you
So I have
found
full
them.
confidence, yes. I have full confidence that they will be here. If I didn't have that, I'd say, well, let's wait and see. So, I mean, I'm comfortable with it. If you say we can save $1,000, it's worth saving $1,000.
It's just a matter of.
You can
it's
ask.
just- it's just
But I
go
guess-
back
but-
and ask, but,
Well, I guess I'm with Rick, though, I don't even understand what we're asking.
1 year for,
why
1
do
year,
this
no,
for 2 years?
Go
when
1
we
year
can
and
do
then
it
you
for
give
one?
36. I mean, we'll just keep, what benefit do I get to go for, I want the lower rate, like we have,
With
year to
less
year.
Obligation.
And
With
they're
less
saying 38,
obligation.
So you're going, say, can we get 36 without going 2 years? I mean, you could ask.
all right,
Couldn't
I'm going to
hurt.
put on the consensus, I'll ask,
All right.
and I'll report at the next,
All right.
Okay.
okay. All right, item number
Just
three.
one other thing I just would like to just understand as well. I mean, you went through the analysis, we have we have all the appropriations. I would like to know how much cash has come in versus how much cash has been,
Promised.
yeah. The grant money that, you have a grant, and then grant money comes in to pay for the projects. The projects could be multi-year.
Right.
So I could have, for instance, an $800,000 grant and nothing come in yet for the next 5 years. Usually there's a forecast. And as we're going through that, right, we're making obligations. We're obligating to contribute to these,
In kind, yeah.
in kind or what, or whatever. So I just try to, schedule that out and see what that looks like. How much have we paid out? How much have we collected? What are our obligations?
Well, they gave us our obligations. On the sheet that,
Yeah.
they gave us our in-kind contributions, which they didn't total up, but,
I don't know how much cash has come in, inflow.
they're not saying how much cash has come in. I mean, we could find that out.
Well, we would do that, right?
We would have.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, you know
We
what?
can find that out, right, Bob? Yes, sir. Okay.
So notwithstanding the contract, I mean, I'm just saying, we're having this conversation. I think that's just good practice to
Yeah, see where we
understand all
are.
that, see where we are.
Makes sense.
Okay, so we'll put our heads together. Once I have those numbers, I'll make a call.
Thank you.
All right.
Everything we can?
Okay, number
So we'll
three,
put it on the tentative consensus agenda.
That's right. Do we have a tentative consensus
In
agenda?
between the consensus and the non.
Just don't tell them they're on a tentative.
Okay, number three, authorize 2018 out of title paid for Christine Rossiter, Tammy Savick, Kim DeLucia for November 20th memo. Email from Bob Kehoe, Finance Director. These three individuals stepped up big time. One in the tax office. Christine worked
Christine
over
Rossiter.
the holiday last year when people came in to prepay their 2018 taxes. And then our back-to-back nor'easters, Tammy and Kim were in here on weekends during the week late, working from home. So I'll move that to the consensus.
It's fine.
Or do
Fine.
we want to
Nope.
move on that so we can,
Do it now or?
If we do it now, we can get it out this year?
We can get it out for the next payroll.
All right,
Okay,
let's
yeah,
do it.
let's move
Let's
on
do
it
it.
then.
okay, I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
And thank you. I believe it was yours, huh?
Number 4, authorize supervisor to approve the establishing of fees for special use permits for wireless telecommunication facilities applications before the Somers Planning Board per memo dated November 13th from Saretin, Director of Planning. Okay, and that was that memo.
You were gonna have, original new special use permit application, 1,000, amended special use permit application, 800, and renewal of special use permit application every 5 years for 500.
Okay, we'll move that to consensus.
Okay.
Okay, authorize the supervisor to execute the following. The Second Amendment to the Intermunicipal Development Agreement CHIF-15-65 between the Town of Somers, the County of Westchester, and Carney Realty and Development Group, which increases the dollar amount of the agreement from $1,800,000 to $2,400,000, an increase of $600,000. Why don't we move this as well, because this project is underway. They haven't gotten to the additional funding. Yeah, Rich, you had a, oh, I thought,
Oh,
He
no,
was
no, no, we
agreeing
had
with you.
discussed this, we had discussed this before, and he needed to get this thing going, right? So there
okay,
was
so
a
I'll make
point
a
made.
motion to
Time is of
authorize
the
the
essence.
Second Amendment to the intermunicipal.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. The Somers Estate subdivision letter of credit, which extends the expiration date until November 19th, 2019. All right, that's, I'll move that to the consensus as well. And then,
We
our
did
pres-
see.
Yeah, we did see. And then, number 6,
Talk about planning ahead.
yeah, our work,
The
well, our
calendar
work,
didn't come out yet, we're
yeah, our
changing
work
it.
session is on
Yeah,
July
exactly.
4th.
Do we have to change it, or can we just make it like that?
So yeah, we make a, we'll put this on the consensus agenda. So our meeting happens to fall on the 4th.
Yes.
Okay, current vacancies on our Affordable Housing Board, Parks and Rec Board, which we're gonna probably
Next week.
fix next week. Partners in Prevention. Upcoming vacancies, library, planning, zoning, once again. Well, we do have a person leaving our planning board. That'll be on next, Jan Corning.
Oh,
Will be leaving our planning board.
yeah.
Yeah, they're moving out of Somers.
Oh, wow. didn't know
Yeah,
that.
she was a great addition to
She was.
the board
Oh, she's,
In the town.
she's quick.
and the town. You know, she has a
And the-
background in construction
And her
management, so really knew some of the right questions to ask developers when they were in front of the board.
Huh?
And they were active in the Church of the Good Shepherd,
And the
which,
Lions,
which,
very much
you know,
so.
the
Thank you.
Lions, so
Lions.
they're gonna be missed.
They are the
Hugely.
president. Jim is the president of the Lions Club, and Jan was to be the
Next,
Next in on the air
VP
appearance.
coming up.
Veep.
so you pushed them out. They finally had too much
Yeah,
and they
so
left,
there's
right?
a large hole there that has to be filled. So I'll speak more about her at the next meeting, but yeah, we do have a vacancy coming up on that. So if you're at all interested in serving on the town planning board, please contact my office. Okay, number 3 under personnel, authorize the hiring of Mr. Douglas Lee as a part-time availability chauffeur for the Somers Adult Transportation Department at an hourly rate of $15 per memo dated September 24th from Barbara Tabor.
Yes.
I'm going to make a motion to approve that.
I'll do it
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
So Doug serves on the Boy Scouts. He's down in the council down there
Who's that?
with Doug Lee.
Oh,
And
okay. Oh, okay.
he's involved with the Eagle Scout projects.
Yeah, okay.
Process.
I've met him.
Yeah,
Yep.
so, when I was chairman of PAC 210 back in the day, he was an active Boy Scout.
Oh,
and-
welcome aboard.
Yeah, he's gonna be awesome.
Good.
Yeah, well, he's a gentleman that would probably is trained in CPR and,
Yeah,
you know, unfortunately, we had an incident where one of our chauffeurs did the Heimlich maneuver on someone that was choking. You know, Julio Cuno.
Oh, Julio's good.
Yeah, and
That's good.
saved a life.
so I'll also add that he worked for one of a landscaping design company in Westchester, so if we need any volunteer work around here, he's somebody we can tap.
Well, actually, we do have a
Tappable
community
resource.
volunteer, Mary Ann from Design Concepts. They enhanced our plantings
Right.
out front.
Yes.
Right, they did, yes.
Okay, good.
Okay, and number 4, acknowledge the resignation of Jeanette Griffin as a member of the Open Space Committee, effective November 28th. Jeanette was one of the original Open Space Committee members, a hard worker, and I wish her good luck in all her future endeavors.
Yeah, that's a big loss for them because, you know, that group, we all know is, you know, it's not a large group. It's sort of like the Energy Environment Committee, not a large group, but very passionate group. And they get things done, which is what you want. And she was one of the real, you know, like you say, not only founding members, but really one of the core members of it now. So, you know, that's unfortunate for the town, good for her,
Yeah, so Open Space Committee, we need volunteers for that as well.
right?
Okay, so look over the proposed consensus agenda. Are there any questions on those
All 3 items?
3 items?
Give me a couple minutes.
Okay. Our next town board meeting will be December 13th.
Next Thursday?
Next Thursday, we'll have a public hearing on zoning regulations and the proposed invasive species. That's the bamboo legislation.
And you're gonna have a special meeting? Or
At the
do we
end of
need
the-
that?
End of the month.
Yeah, we have.
And do we need to post it on here,
We need to
maybe?
announce
We'll announce
that.
it at some point.
My office, I don't know if well, I have you all here now.
I think we said the 20.
We did answer, we just didn't find out when the consensus time was. At least
Okay.
I didn't, I don't know, I answered it.
Yeah, any of those dates were good for me, but I don't know what the,
Okay,
Right.
so yeah,
Where we
it'll be-
landed.
Krim will figure it out.
Yeah, we'll have it probably during the day, either in the morning or later
Alright.
in the day. And that is to,
finalize the budget.
I think we just wanted to formalize the,
Sign
Payroll, isn't
the, yeah.
Approved an abstract,
that's right,
another abstract for year end.
so we can, right, get a jump on,
So it's all about you, really.
That's all.
well, it reduces his administrative burden, which is okay.
Anything we can do to help our finance director
Yes.
lighten the burden
Yes.
during the holiday season.
So he keeps us double A.
More than
He's
happy to do
precious.
that. Yeah, AAA or bust. I can't wait for us to borrow money again.
Oh, you.
Okay, I have a few announcements here that I will make. Somers Historical Society, holidays at the Wright Reese Homestead and Gingerbread Festival. Saturday, December 8th, Sunday, December 9th. That's 1 to 4 p.m. at the Wright Reese Homestead. And the theme is an elephant home for the holidays. So you're encouraged
I
to
like
get
it.
your gingerbread homes put together and get down there and get in the competition. Westchester Orator Society is presenting Handel's Messiah Sing-Along Sunday, December 9th, 3 p.m. at the historic St. Luke's Episcopal Church. Tickets are $25. They may be purchased at the door or online at westchesterorators.org.
Not my original.
Okay, any further comments, concerns?
A couple of comments. One is, want to thank everybody who came out this past weekend for the tree lighting. It was a bit rainy. We had probably a lower attendance, but it was still as festive as always.
Yeah,
With Santa
sure, it's great.
and the music. Yeah, it was a great day. And number two, just so everybody is aware, trying to get it out there early, at our regular town board meeting in January, the plan is to have a representative from NYSEG here who is going to give a presentation on sort of what they've been doing, sort of the state of the union of what they've been doing in Somers since all of the storms that we've had since the NYSEG task force has been put together. Rich and I had I thought it was a very good meeting.
It was a good
This
meeting.
past week.
It was.
We're going to have both somebody from, we're going to have their head arborist,
Arborist.
and then we're also going to have one of their operation guys who will tell you about some of the things that have been put up on the poles to help minimize outages. And I know people have been concerned about it. We're going to be doing that now, and it should be, I believe it's the 10th,
It is
which
the
is
10th.
our second meeting
So
in
our-
January.
Yeah, our first meeting is the organization.
Third.
Right.
Right, it's the third.
Third is
Okay,
the work
'cause
session.
That's a long one, so that's why we put it on the 10th.
Okay, very good.
I
And
think that if I can just add, I mean, look, it's really almost fashionable to bash NYSEG, and certainly what happened is inexcusable, I think. And so the arborists will tell us about what they've been doing, what they plan to do to help minimize the effect of trees falling on wires, which is 49% of the outages. And then, as Tom said, one of their operations engineer guys is going to tell us about the hardware and infrastructure that's been put in to try to harden things as we go forward, so less of that will happen, including I learned a lot about reclosers, and you gave a very good
My favorite.
summary of those, and that there will be 19 reclosers in Somers, so we'll find out what those are. But I think the whole thing is that on the 10th, if you have questions about, for example, what do I do if I see a tree leaning over the street? Who do I call? Well, you'll find out that night. The number will be given out to the business line of the arborist who is here. And all sorts of common sense questions of things that I've learned being on this task force, of how these things work. And I have to say that they have been responsive due to a great extent of your pressure, Warren Lucas's pressure in North Salem, and just the things that have happened that are just so crazy. Last year we went 31 days at one point with 15 days without power at some point in the town in that sort of March, April, and no one can say that that's usual. But here's the thing that I've noticed. At the beginning when they first came in with us, I thought they were very defensive.
They were defensive,
It's like,
yes.
hey, we're doing everything we can, things happen, and you gotta deal with, deal with it, but things happen, we can't protect you for everything. Now, they're saying, look, there's things we could have done that we didn't do, we're trying to catch up on that,
Right.
we're gonna do better in the future. So, the first step of solving any problem, you tell your own kids that, is accepting that you have a problem, and then finding a way to improve it. And so I think that
Yeah, we've had very good meetings over the last year.
it's it's been better than I thought, and these guys have been very interesting, very informative, and that's why we asked them to come, is so that the questions that people have at home, things that we didn't know when we started that now we do know, but everybody should know those answers, including better ways of communicating with the public in their website, in their public relations, in what they are putting out. In terms of articles, as updates as things happen during storms. And we've said, what ways can the town help them to get that out? Because their customers are our customers, our residents are their customers. So we're trying to work together on that. Tom's done a great job, I think, running those meetings and moderating them. Making sure that I stay quiet as much as possible.
That's the hardest part.
Which is always a good idea.
Even tonight.
That's why the sound's not on, right? Yeah. But this has worked out pretty well, and
Yeah.
so I think that this presentation on the 10th will be really valuable as people listen in or come to the meeting and ask those questions even better. And that's what I would encourage.
And we'll
people to
remind
do.
you at the next two meetings as well before it.
Right.
I just have two comments on the utility task force. I was there at the first meeting, and I wanted to make it clear that the people that I was able to get from NICEAG to come to that meeting were the boots on the ground guys, the arborists, the engineers, and that these weren't the guys to criticize. These are the guys we need to work with.
Right.
And I have to say, you two gentlemen ran with this, and the fact that you've got this relationship now with these guys is I think is to the town's benefit.
Well, but even more importantly
not
now.
finished.
Oh, sorry.
Not fair. The
All
other, the other point was,
There you go.
I think the residents of Somers have seen trucks from Nelson
Yes.
Tree Service. They are NICEAG contractees.
Save a tree.
And just today, we had NICEAG trucks working on the poles. So they're not only doing the tree cutting and clearing, they're working on the infrastructure. And hopefully, we're gonna hear that a good majority of those 19 reclosers have been installed. But I think everybody can attest to the fact that
They're
for the
out.
last 6 months, NICEAG's had a presence in this
Oh,
town.
most
They
definitely.
may have been not here the last 15 years, but this year they've certainly been here in force.
Well, and they, I will say at our last meeting, they did give you credit for that because you were able to get them a staging area.
Right, they
Which
did
makes
say
it,
that.
they said that, because of being able to get a staging area, they're able to respond more quickly. And they did say that
Oh,
you
yeah.
did that, so they recognize that. But also, what you just said is we did have the boots on the ground, but now, 12 months later, we have a lot of the upper management who are coming as well.
They are.
And they're here, and those are the guys who, they're hearing us, and you
Well,
and I
they
met
wanted
with
to know
one
if
of
it
them.
was safe to come here.
Yeah, they
Maybe
realized,
so.
they realized it was.
But it's a good
First-
relationship.
The first few meetings, it wasn't,
It was
evident that it was.
back then. I had to hold Rich back.
I just,
But I'll give you one example of how I think that their attitude has changed to the better, obviously. And it is that we asked a question about, in the past, there has been criticism of NICEAG that, storms are coming, but you're not bringing in crews early. And you're waiting till it happens, then you bring the crews. Why would you wait so long when you know what's happening? And the answer was, from one of them, we could have done it, we should have done it, and we're going to do it. They then cited a couple of times when they have done that in other areas, brought those crews in. I think up by Liberty, wasn't it?
Yeah, they were saying up
Up
there.
in Liberty, they brought all these crews up. They thought the storm was going to hit. They brought in all these guys, and they put them up for the night, and then nothing
It's a
happened.
cost of doing business.
And, obviously, exactly, there's a cost there, but I think most people would say better be safe than sorry. And so they said, we could have done better, we should have done better. And that is really a change, and I think a change for the better. So I think they've done well, and I think obviously they're going to keep doing better. We'll keep pressuring them, and we'll hear about that on January 10th.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I want to make a few remarks about saving lives. On Tuesday, Partners in Prevention, in conjunction with Somers Police Department and the county, held a Narcan training class in the Somers Library. Very well attended. I would say at least 15 people were there. They went through the training. Narcan is essentially is a pharmaceutical, it's a drug that can be administered to individuals that are in the throes of an opiate overdose, and it essentially revives them. And so the meeting was awesome. It gave a little bit of a background and then went through the actual administration of the drug. And then they also handed the kits out, okay? And the point there is that, the state pays for the kits. If you have training and you want to obtain a kit, you go to a pharmacist and your insurance will pay for that. All right, so they're trying to get this available, and so I think it was awesome. Captain David Burpee was there from the Somers Police. The Partners in Prevention folks were there, and I forget the individual who was a county health official, but I think you may know him from your prior life.
Was it a Lori Smalley?
No, it was a gentleman,
Oh, okay.
but it was very good. So, and there'll be more of these. Yeah, it was Patrick, I think. Yes, Patrick. All right, so there'll be more of these as we go forward, but, thanks to that group of a committee to essentially, really spearhead all of this.
Yes,
Right.
definitely, thank you.
Well, frankly, the town of Somers Police were one of the first police departments trained in the use of Narcan.
And we
And-
paid for it.
Yeah, and it's been documented that Narcan saves lives.
Yes.
I mean, people that would not have survived overdoses have been, issued or injected with the pens, and they get a second chance at getting it right.
There were fire department people there for training, and some nurses as well that are local, and then some folks that are sports leaders, and then just folks that felt that they wanted to
So that was,
understand this.
Patrick Quinn. I just
Patrick
remembered
Quinn, that's who it was.
Patrick Quinn
So
from
thank you,
the health
Patrick.
department. Yeah, very good, dedicated gentleman.
Okay.
Lastly, just to piggyback on Councilman Garrity's comments, great attendance on Sunday for the tree lighting and the menorah lighting, and tonight I believe is the 5th night of Hanukkah, so happy Hanukkah.
Very nice. Right.
And,
I want to give a public thank you, though, to the Lions Club, who were in here taking photos with Santa. Took photos of most of the town board members.
I got one.
I got one.
I got one.
I thought the day was, for the weather, was well attended. Fortunately, it was temperature cooperated. And this year, the supervisor flicked the switch on the tree, so we were
On
in
time.
sync.
And it
Right
works.
on time.
And it works.
10, 9, 8, 7,
Santa
6.
was confused though.
Yeah.
Santa was standing there going, what am I doing?
He wasn't sure what was going on.
Right, that's true.
So,
Okay.
well, I
Uh,
wish everyone a
finally-
happy holiday, yes.
Finally, let's just congratulate, I thought Bill would say this, Lucas Fecci on All-American
Yeah.
status
Soccer.
for soccer,
Oh, wow.
Oh,
so, which
really?
is obviously a great accomplishment.
That adds to our reputation as a title town.
Title town. Here, here. Thank
And
you,
he had a
Tom.
very good game the other day, his first basketball game against the Saunders.
They did. They killed him.
Congratulations.
So that was it.
I'm liking this, Rich.
Happy holidays,
Going
yes.
into executive session?
Happy holidays.
Yeah, we could do that.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to close the meeting, and we're going to retire to executive session and not to return.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
So moved. Good night, Somers.